What's going on, guys and girls? I am Ghost Robo, and I'm back with some more Xbox One details and information that I think you guys will find very crucial and critical. This is new information that was revealed after the whole beginning Shindig event earlier this morning, and I actually made this video once, and I'm redoing it because the said information has been updated and revised yet again, and it's always tricky with these big events because it seems like even within Microsoft you get conflicting reports and different sites are saying different things. It's like they should just do one giant robotic press release that gives you all the information in a row so nobody's confused. The problem arises with the micromanagement of all the information and reveals and whatnot, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about three important things: backwards compatibility, always online, and used games, and we'll tackle them in this order of most importance to me, which is the first, used games. That's a big deal for a lot of people. And the initial talk was that you would be able to play used games, but there would be a fee, an activation fee, that each game is tied directly to a hard drive and to a profile. You can install the game to a hard drive, and here's the cool part. One of the coolest things about the system: every game must be installed, and once it's installed, it does not require the disc. And to me, that's so cool. I can see myself sitting there and just scrolling through the library and keeping my discs on the shelf in their nice little pretty alphabetical order, never having to remove the cases after the first use. But the problem with this was, there's going to be an activation fee for someone else to get the game. So if you buy it used, there would be a 10, 20, 30, who knows how much money fee to basically transfer the likeness of that game. And while that sounds ridiculous, it's not too far from what PCs currently do. On Steam, I can't just bring my Steam library over to your house and give it to you. I mean, I could load it up on your computer if I logged into my account, and perhaps they plan on doing something like that with Xbox Live profiles. If I go to a friend's house, maybe I can log into mine and have access to those games. Not sure how that works. But regardless, the new information is that Phil Harrison of Microsoft is saying that this is the case and there will be a substantial activation fee, and Xbox support is saying no, there is no fee. So I don't really know what the true story is there. I would lean towards there being some sort of fee, because right now the PR speak they're giving is, we have not announced anything on our used game policy this time, but you will be able to trade in and resell games. So that leads me to believe that there is some system in place for you to be able to recycle your games in that way, but there will be some caveat, and I don't think they can just transfer instantly, especially if they're being installed on a hard drive and you can use it without a disc. You can imagine that if there was no activation fee, how quickly you could install a game on everybody's hard drive with no ties, and it would just basically be free games for everyone, piracy to the maximum, and they don't want that. But it does kind of, it's a little bit of an icky subject, especially at the start of a new generation. A lot of people like to take their games over to friends' house. Hey, I'll buy Forza, you buy the new Madden, and like, I would do that, when the past generations first came out. I'd, say, I'm getting this game, you get this game, let's go play as friends. I still do that. I still bring my games over to a friend's house. So I'm hoping that they have something with, if you log in with your Xbox Live, then it remembers your license keys or something, and therefore, if you have the disc, you could play it on someone else's system, because they don't want to run into the same problem Nintendo had with the Wii U, where everything is tied to the hardware, and then what if the hardware breaks? It's just a big mess. And next up on the agenda is always online. And like I've always been saying for a long time and stuck to my guns, the system is not always online. It does not require a constant internet connection like some people feared, especially after the SimCity debacle. It does require an online connection to be active. Different reports, again, are quite confusing. Some say it just requires a connection for certain games, for certain features, to set it up, and Phil Harrison, yet again, is giving different information, saying probably once a day, that it will check for an internet connection every 24 hours. What happens if it doesn't have one on that 24th hour and 1 minute? Does it shut off? Does it explode? I mean, what goes on here? And again, we don't have exact details, but the concrete facts are that it is not always online, but it will require some sort of online connection. And this was to be expected. Pretty much every modern, current, electronic device is requiring an internet connection of some sort, and frankly, I don't know how anyone could have expected it to be a offline total system. That's kind of a thing of the past. And you look at smartphones, you look at tablets, you look at things like that, they all pretty much require an internet connection for a majority of their features. I can see some people being frustrated by not being able to play certain games offline, but I think they still will allow that. I think they still will, even if it does require a daily check. That's really odd and really strange, so I don't know if that's going to pan out. I don't know. That part is the most obscure, but the good news is, the bright spot is, yes, there is no constant connection required. We won't run into crazy SimCity problems, and it should pan out A-OK for us on that front. Lastly, backwards compatibility is out. I guess out is the wrong word. It never was in. These systems are drastically different architecture. It would have been almost impossible, if not totally impossible, for them to place the capability to play Xbox 360 games on the Xbox One. The more dire and disappointing news, though, is that Xbox Live Arcade games will not transfer. That's an extreme bummer. Now, of course, it makes sense that if you are going to buy a new system, you're probably buying it for the new games. How many people have $500 to spend to play their old games? It's a little bit of a disappointment because of the fact, like, hey, I want to trade up my system. This is something I did when I was younger. I don't know if any of you do this, but, like, sell on eBay or trade up my current gen system to be able to afford the new one. It's probably going to be $400 to $500, and that's a lot of money, and getting an extra $100 or $150 out of your current 360 would be nice, but they have effectively said, hey, we're not looking to kill off the 360. We want to continue to sell that system, and it'll probably drop to somewhere around $120, $130 as soon as this holiday season, and they'll look for that to be sort of their low price point entry into gaming for a lot of people. A great system, tons of games. They can drop the price on games, accessories, and the system and probably make a nice chunk of profit. I'm assuming that there is a very little manufacturing cost for those bad boys anymore. I'm guessing they make a decent, at least an okay profit on that at this point. But the Xbox Live thing is really, your gamer score transfers, your gamer tag transfers. Why don't the Xbox Live games transfer? And I guess, again, it probably boils down to the architecture they were developed on, how they're developed, and it makes you wonder, will PSN games be able to transfer over? Because remember that Sony does not have backwards compatibility in the PlayStation 4 either. They do have Gaikai, which they're working towards. It's not running in any way right now, but they're working towards being able to stream PlayStation 3 games on your PlayStation 4. I don't know if that will be based on what games you already have, or just downloading them, or how that's all going to work. It's very unclear at the current state, and so effectively neither system has backwards compatibility, which is kind of a bummer. Backwards compatibility isn't something that's always been around. It's just more of the recent era, but with systems costing more and more and games costing more and more, it's nice to be able to use your catalog as you move through the generations. Now, for me personally, I'll be keeping my 360 because I want to continue to play those games and because I do YouTube and need to have one of every system. But I can see for a lot of people this being kind of a turnoff. I don't think it's a deal breaker in any way because, again, if you're buying the new system, you probably want the new games. But it's a little bit frustrating that they've decided to go that route. The always-on thing, at least few, turned out to be okay, I think. It sounds like we're in the clear on that. It sounds like I was right, and there is no always online for sure, but there is some sort of required connection. And then the whole use game thing, I know that's frustrating for people. I mean, the whole effort of this is to basically effectively eliminate the GameStops of the world and make sure that the publisher is getting as much money from a game, the developer getting as much money from their game as possible. From a individual person standpoint, yeah, it kind of sucks that they might be tampering with your ability to play used games in some fashion or to some degree with this fee. Or not fee, but some sort of system that will prevent ease of perfect used games. But if you think about it from an industry standpoint, as games cost more, as more and more studios close all the time, they really want to maximize their profits and their revenue from said games. And in a lot of ways, it's only fair that they would be the ones receiving the money. GameStop is great for some people and does work in some instances, but when they do things like place the new release Call of Duty, for $55 used or $60 brand new, it's not really doing much of a service to the gamer, and it's not really doing much of a service to the developer. It's kind of in a really just nasty spot, and I know that a lot of people have animosity towards GameStop and how they handle things. I'm sure there's plenty of people that love the used games business and processes as well. I know, like, I've definitely, for certain games and stuff, purchased used in the past. I don't mind it so much because I like supporting the developers. I like helping them, and, this generation showed that they can have a lot of good sales and drop games to $40 pretty quickly. Will that happen at the beginning of this generation? No, but there won't be a ton of games either. So it's not like you're going to be, oh God, I'm going and buying 20 titles and they all cost $60 or $70 or however much they're going to end up costing, and this sucks. There probably will be a couple games that you'll want to buy, and yeah, they would be just a little bit cheaper used anyway. So at the beginning of the generation, it's not going to be a problem. 3 years down the road, maybe it gets a tad annoying if you're paying that activation fee for every single game. Who knows? It depends how much it costs. If it's like an online pass and $10, that's pretty reasonable. Maybe GameStop would adjust their prices accordingly, or maybe the entire system collapses and used games go away, or maybe they introduce some crazy way of trading them online. Like you could, sell your code to someone through a marketplace, or you could transfer the license if you wanted to. I think for me, I don't mind so much the fact that, they have to clamp down on used games. I understand that this is a big industry with big costs and requires big profits in order to continue for these companies. It just can't work. Whether you like the idea that it's a lot of money or not for these game companies, they're making a lot, they're losing a lot. However you feel about any of that, if you want games to continue, they have to make money. It's like the bottom line. But I just think the part that bugs me is how they transfer it from, like, your friends. Can you take them over? Is it going to run into weird hardware issues where, like, uh-oh, my Xbox broke, I'm screwed? I think they're smarter than that. I hope they're smarter than that, and that they can avoid some of these common problems that are known from this current generation and from the Wii U, and at least prepare for them in some way. You got to imagine that they have some good brains on this thing, and whatever you think of the system so far from the reveal event, it's going to be a good system. I think that both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox 720, God, I still don't like that name, Xbox One. I still can't get over it. I know names don't really matter in the long run. It's about the games and whatever. Who cares what it's called? The Wii was a dumb name, but Xbox One is weird. Anyways, both platforms will be cool. Both platforms are going to be very similar, and hopefully some of these secondary and tertiary things like online connections and used game fees don't mar what can be a very, very exciting year for us, a very exciting fall as we launch new systems. If you're excited for that fall, for those new systems like I am, hit that like button. Let me know what you think of these updates and these announcements / information / features. It's not really a feature, more like non-features, missing features, in the comments below, and I will love to discuss them with you. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for lots more PlayStation 4 and Xbox One coverage as we move throughout the year. Till that time, though, guys and girls, drink some much. Have a fantastic day once again. We will see you all later.